Paranormal Punches is part of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com for more great podcasts.
Hey y'all, this is Frank the Bigfoot, and you're listening to the Paranormal Punchers.
Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Paranormal Punchers. I'm Mark.
I'm Alicia.
I'm Nash.
And I'm Dave.
And we're all in a normal tone, I guess, except for one person here, Mark. What's going on?
I don't know where that came from. I was possessed by something that made me talk that way. On this episode, we are going to talk about the Stanley Hotel, and we're going to pair that with the movie The Shining, based on a book written by Stephen King, inspired by his stay at the Shining Hotel. So this should be pretty awesome. And I got some listener feedback, too, for the second half, and should be a fun time. Oh, and before we get rolling, I'd like to tell you about another podcast called Swole Cinema.
Oh, yeah.
SWOLE Cinema, Swole Cinema, where myself and my buddy Ryan, who's a powerlifter, a strongman, and a distiller, talk about 80s and 90s action movies with the big muscly hawking actors.
The classic cinema of action movies was 80s and 90s.
You got it?
Yeah.
So if you're into that kind of stuff, check it out. Greatly would appreciate it. All right, getting into the paranormal. The Shining Hotel. Denver.
The Shining
Denver.
Hotel?
It's outside of Denver, like 3 hours outside of Denver, right?
Estes Park.
Estes Park, Colorado.
Yep. All right. So the Stanley Hotel, located at 333 Wonderview Avenue, Estes Park, Colorado, served as the inspiration for Stephen King's 1977 novel, The Shining, and is considered to be one of the most haunted hotels in the United States. Now, the Stanley Hotel is a 140-room Colonial Revival hotel located about 5 miles from the Rocky Mountain National Park. It was built by Freelan Oscar Stanley, known as Stanley Steamer, the inventor of the steam-powered car, and it opened July 4th, 1909, as a resort for upper-class Easteners and a health resort for TB sufferers.
Tuberculosis.
Because they're so clean, you're out in the wilderness. Yeah. It's a beautiful area out there.
Yeah, so Freelan, he had been stricken with TB and found that the air and environment in Estes Park was rejuvenating and found his health improving dramatically. Because of his recovery and the beautiful environment, he decided to build a hotel that catered to the rich as well as TB patients that were searching for a healthful climate. He felt that where he had been recovering wasn't on par with what they were accustomed to, as in, like, the social scene was lacking and whatever.
Amenities and the whole nine
Yeah,
yards,
so he was like, I'm just going to build.
I'm going to make the digs I want to be in.
Right. Now, the hotel and concert hall was completed in 1909, and the nearest train station was about 20 miles from the hotel. So Mr. Stanley, he ended up producing a fleet of specially designed steam-powered vehicles that he called mountain wagons, and they seated multiple passengers at a time. Now, Stanley operated the hotel almost as a pastime, where he spent more money than he actually made each summer.
Right. Labor of love for him.
Yeah. Now, the hotel was one of the few in the world that was powered entirely by electricity, apparently. But there was also a lack of available power, so they installed an auxiliary gas lighting system in June of 1911. On June 25th, 1911, an explosion occurred that injured a maid, Elizabeth Wilson, and damaged the structure.
And the maid will come up later.
Oh, yes.
It wasn't. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, that didn't have to do with. That had to do with something else, though, right? That was
Well-
we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Oh, okay, because you're making absolutely no sense.
No sense at all. I know, right? I just need to have another beer. Is what it is.
Oh. So the hotel had lost power due to a thunderstorm or a flood. I saw a couple different reports, so I'm not really sure which one it was, but they lost power. So while they had all the guests downstairs and were getting the auxiliary gas system up, a maid lit a candle, and that would be Elizabeth Wilson. The explosion was instant. It destroyed about its entire west wing. And the force of the explosion caused the maid to go crashing into the dining room, which is located underneath room 217. That she was in room 217 when it happened.
See, the way I read that was that I was thinking that the dining room area was on the main floor, kind of out in public, and the room that I imagined her opening the door and the candle, lighting the candle, and literally explosion, movie style. She gets shot back, vaulted through the air,
Right.
40 feet, and lands on there and does the combat roll, of course, and gets out of there.
Yeah, so I had seen that she was actually on the upper balcony.
Oh,
in the
really?
main
Okay, you know what?
entry, and got thrown to the main
Yeah,
floor.
got thrown to the main floor. Yeah.
So a lot of the articles that came out about this at that time, they had different stories happening, and even the name of the maid was a little bit different. They even said that she was from Lancaster, PA.
Right, exactly.
Which wasn't really, I don't think they had her on the register as far as, being from there, but...
Right. That was an article from the York Dispatch.
Okay.
Just, 20 miles west of Lancaster. And so that was the original article. And then subsequent checks showed that she was not ever a resident by that name in Lancaster.
Well, they had to sell papers. They had to link it in and sell papers and draw some. Yeah. But she ended up surviving that.
Yes, she did. She suffered
was a beast.
2 broken ankles. But once she recovered, she became the head chambermaid and worked at the hotel until her death in the 1950s. So she just stuck around. Well, and I think Mr. Stanley, he paid for her hospital.
I would hope so.
Right.
Well, no,
She got injured on the job.
Then they wouldn't have
Exactly.
workman's comp out now.
No, he definitely took care of her, and he made her the head maid in the hotel. So now Stanley sold the hotel in 1926. Then he bought it back up in foreclosure, and then he sold it again to a fellow auto and hotel financier. I can't read, apparently.
He made some money on it. Is what he
Yeah,
did. He sold
yeah.
it. He sold it. Waited for it to foreclose. Bought it at cheap, and then sold it again when it was put it back together. He made some money.
Yeah. Now, the hotel itself contains 11 structures, including the main hotel, the concert hall, a carriage house, manager's cottage, the gatehouse, and the lodge, which is a smaller bed and breakfast originally called Stanley Manor. It features 4 restaurants, a spa on site, and an expansive whiskey bar. Now, it offers a guided climbing experience on Via Ferrata.
Okay.
Yeah. A full day hike in the RNP, which is the Rocky Mountain National Park. A full day of rock climbing, an e-bike tour. I don't know what that is. And
that started actually when it opened up in 1909 or no, it didn't.
Oh, yeah?
It didn't.
yeah.
Sorry.
The hotel used to be closed for the winter until 1983 and is now open year-round. And in June 2015, a hedge maze was installed in front of the hotel and is inspired, of course, by The Shining. So,
All right.
I want to go to the hedge maze.
Now, let's talk about the spooky, the hauntings, all that fun stuff.
yeah. So, the Stanley Hotel has had a rather peaceful history. But in the years following the publication of The Shining, it has gained a reputation as a setting for paranormal activity.
I don't know why. I mean, I don't understand that.
Because of its grand and impressive appearance, the hotel exudes a feeling of wrongness and bad vibes. So Mr. Stanley is said to wander the halls of the hotel and is most seen at the hotel bar and the billiard room.
Cool.
He also assists lost children to get back to their families, like when they're on tours and stuff like that.
He's helping out.
Yeah.
He's enjoying the afterlife and helping out when he can. Right?
Now, the interesting thing is he actually died in, I think, Manhattan or Massachusetts.
Right.
So, like, what part of him imprinted,
I know.
There, and why did he leave to go back east to die?
Right.
Well, I'm thinking that place was to do something of that scale. It's a labor of love, and to not make any money at it and keep at it. So even though he was elsewhere, I mean, that's where his heart belonged.
Right. Now, his wife, Flora, she has also been reported in the ballroom. Employees and guests have reported hearing piano music coming from the room and even see the keys move. The ballroom also feels colder the closer you get to the piano, as well as a rose scent that is detected, and they attribute it to her.
Now, with Flora, some people think that maybe she had her own experiences while she was alive and living at the Stanley, because this is an excerpt from a poem, just untitled poem, The Ghostly Rap and Knock and Tap, Up Branches and Wind and Rain, Call Answering Ghosts, From Memory's Hosts, I Strive to Stay in Vain. She was also known to, dress up and read people's fortunes. So, and she was manic depressive. But she'd read, fortunes to the Estes Park Women's Club. So, but that poem, I don't know.
Mm.
I strive to stay in vain.
So it sounded like she was a little bit in tune with the spiritual world.
Yeah, she was kind of
yeah.
dialed in.
Yeah.
All right. The fourth floor is said to be one of the most haunted areas in the hotel, with one hotel tour employee saying that the fourth floor made her physically ill. Now, room 401 is supposed to be haunted by an unfriendly male ghost, as many women have been touched inappropriately by unseen hands while in there. So,
what I found is that they were touched inappropriately while they were in the closet.
yes, it was in the closet.
So the idea,
So the ghost is like hiding in the closet.
he's in the closet and like peeping through or something. I don't know. And then that's got to be a pretty good sized closet. And why in the world would you go stand?
Why does it need to be a big size closet? Oh, to change. I'm like, not to be a ghost. It could fit into small closets.
Well, because
Big closets,
the
doesn't
ladies who are getting touched are standing in the closet.
That's probably a walk-in closet.
Yeah.
But
That's a pretty swanky place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for a room, a regular room on the fourth floor to have a walk-in closet,
Right.
that's a pretty nice,
well,
pretty nice.
I don't know if you looked at any of the pictures. Wow. I mean,
It's a nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's not like your typical hotel room.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't get to see what the rooms look like individually, but if,
That's why you're having trouble understanding why
I
you have
think
a
so.
walk-in closet.
I think
Right,
so.
yeah.
But if they're anything like what they showed in The Shining, which I'm thinking that they did, those rooms are pretty opulent.
Right. So just taking that sideways from here, the it makes me think of, is that like a David Carradine or something type? He was in the closet for those kinds of reasons, and he was waiting for his lover to come, and she never did, and he died. And is that what why he's aggressive towards women in the closet?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
David Carradine?
Oh, he did. We're not going to go into it. But
I'm absolutely lost by that
but it
reference.
involved audio fixation.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right? Is that the right word?
Autoerotic.
Audio
fixation.
erotic.
Oh, so he was in the closet, like, peeping. That's why I was saying he was in there watching something.
Not peeping.
Gotcha. Something else.
Something else.
In that inappropriate area.
Yeah, think of the word asphyxiation.
You're right.
Yeah.
That was a side tangent.
Yeah, wow.
Room 407 is supposed to be haunted by Lord Dunraven. He's the man that actually owned the property before it was bought by Stanley. His face has been seen in the window, and even when the room isn't occupied at that point. Multiple guests have felt the sensation of being tucked in or felt someone sitting at the end of the bed.
Yeah, and they said that when they went and checked the end of the bed because there was somebody sitting there, there were butt marks in the bed.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, that's Okay, so I don't know if y'all have done this. Okay. But have you ever looked when you get up and you looked at the bed and you see your Tookie mark on the bed? I got to tell you, I got a pretty good sized keister. It's much larger in the butt print in the bed than what I would imagine. So I don't know. I was trying to think of how big is this butt mark so I can get a determination on how big the ghost is.
To answer your question, no. I never stand up and look back and like, ooh, look at the butt prints.
You know, like when you put your shoes on and then you get up and you're going to make the bed and you look and you see your butt print in the bed. You never done that before?
No.
And I'm supposed to believe you make the bed.
Every morning. Every single morning. Every morning. I would advise everybody do that.
I think you need Scotty to beam you so you can see what the size actually is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Because I look down and I'm like, geez, Louise, is that my rear end? So then I typically go ask
To
my
answer
wife.
that question,
Yes, it is. I know, right? So anyway. You know, one of the rooms that I had come across was room 428. Now, room 428, actually, I don't know why it's a cowboy, but there's a cowboy ghost hanging out in there.
Yep.
And this actually kind of reminded me of your guys' story of like a shadow man in the corner where you offered your wife up.
Right, yes.
Yeah, this kind of reminded me of that because there's a cowboy, a ghost of a cowboy who just kind of like hangs out in the room or looming over the bed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, I don't know.
sometimes I've heard, I read, just pacing in the corner.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's waiting for you to get done, get out.
Well, I just when is he looming over the bed that's the
Right.
yeah. The idea of a cowboy means so he's got to have one of those like 10-gallon hats on there or spurs or something. Maybe he's got
The
red
hat
sash.
man. Guys, people describe different hats. The cowboy could be a version.
You know, that's true. That's true. I wonder if it's the hat man, but he's just bow-legged, and maybe it's just a different version. Maybe the hat man's got a shadow steed or something that he rides.
Man.
Oh, nice. It could be.
Well, I mean, there's a big difference between him and the hat man because he does do something for the ladies in this room.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Yeah. Oh, he kisses him on the forehead, almost like he's giving a kiss goodnight.
Wow, the cowboy does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. He's a kissing cowboy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So also people hear strange sounds coming above room 428, but there's no other room up there. Like it sounds like furniture is being moved or whatever.
Right.
So
Right.
and then also room 418 is haunted by children. Guests and cleaning crews have heard laughter. And there's a child ghost in particular likes to play with guests' hair.
That's kind of creepy to me.
Right.
Yeah. Dave, that's your room. Because you hate to hear children laugh. Right.
Living or dead.
Oh,
Wow. And the Grinch's heart grew smaller by 3 sizes
Yeah.
right there.
now another room that's rather haunted is room 217.
Oh.
Yeah.
The infamous
Yep.
217, because this is where Stephen King stayed, and it is where he got the idea to write The Shining. So the story goes that Stephen King and his wife arrived. They were closing up for the winter, so they were literally the only people there. They went to have dinner, and every other table had chairs up. The way the music they were playing was echoing through the halls, and he said it just was kind of eerie. So there's a couple different ways this goes, but one is King and his wife went back to their bedroom, and their suitcases were unpacked and clothes were put away, and they did not do that. And I know some people that stayed there claim the same thing.
Yeah.
That they'll get back and their suitcases are open.
Open and put away or just open?
It did vary. Some are open, their clothes are strewn, and some are put away. But also, so Stephen King, when he stayed there, he had a terrifying dream about a little kid and riding around the hallways. And he woke up, went out on the balcony, fired up a cigarette, and the story was born.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the whole reason they were at the Stanley Hotel is, he was really trying to find a different set of scenery for his next book, because his previous books had all been set in Maine.
Yeah.
He wanted to have, a different location. So they actually had moved to Colorado, and somebody told him, hey, you should go stay at the Stanley, fresh air, away from everything. It'll give you a different perspective. And that's why they traveled there, but they had no idea that it was closing down for the winter and everything. So it was all happenstance that led him here.
Perfect. Yeah, love it. You can stay there.
Yeah. One couple also claimed that the bed had been made around them while they slept.
For Stephen King?
No, just visitors that stay in there.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
the ghost
I'm sorry.
In 217.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Because this is where they say that the Elizabeth Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson, the one who lit the
lit the candle.
This is her ghost for some reason.
Right.
Likes
that's
this room.
Yeah.
Right. She's still working. She's still cleaning up and helping people out. I still think that that's an amazing woman. I mean, she got blown to a different floor, man, explosion style, and she got up and was like, I twisted an ankle. I twisted my ankle. I'll be
No,
fine.
she had 2 broken ankles.
Yeah, 2 broken. Yeah. But some guests say or theorize that Mrs. Wilson does not like unmarried guests shacking up together in that room because they'll feel like a cold air kind of forcing them apart, when they're spooning or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
She's the anti-spoon.
Yeah. And the sounds of a woman crying has also been heard in that room. So, yeah. Apparently, there is also a pet cemetery on the property.
Yeah.
And this is where the owners of the hotel, they would bury their pets throughout the years.
I find that to be kind of odd. Why would you put a pet cemetery out there?
I know. Yeah. Well,
you're like in the woods in Estes Park. You're like in the woods. The Rocky Mountain National Park's right there. Whatever's in the forest is at your doorstep. Why would you put dead animals in the ground to be found by other animals who are living? I don't know.
What else are you going to do with them?
We'll have an update on the pet cemetery once you tell us the spooky stuff, so you won't have to worry about that anymore.
I can tell you what you would do with them.
some guests have reported seeing the ghosts of these animals on the property. Cassie, a golden retriever, and Comanche, a white cat. They've been seen in the hallways as well as some guest rooms. I think you have. Do you have anything about Cassie?
Well, I know that she, if any of the doors are closed, she likes to go and paw on the doors.
Scratch at them.
She's a good girl. She just wants to say hello. Poor girl. That's really all I have on Cassie was that
she also likes to deliver newspapers.
Oh,
so.
see? That's a good girl. That's a good girl.
Well, in 2013, this is an article from the Denver Post. Plans to dig up a pet cemetery at the Stanley Hotel, which inspired Stephen King's horror novel, The Shining, have neighbors feeling aggravated. The graves are to be moved to the other side of a small pond, making way for wedding and corporate retreat pavilion. Rosemary MacArthur, known as the Celtic Lady, who lives in Estes Park and was featured as a dog psychic on Animal Planet's Pit Boss, says mysterious accidents like construction injuries and other problems could probably be avoided if a psychic comes to help the dead animals make the transition.
Did you have a
So it's kind of like if the spirits stick around, are they going to be knocking, glasses off at the wedding reception? Cats,
Right.
dogs will always be the good boys. Right, yeah. There's cats.
was there a date as to when they were trying to move the pet cemetery?
I'll start again. This is from a 2013 article.
Okay, so 2013. Okay, because they had an on-site paranormal investigator who would live there full time. Her name was Lisa Neihart. She was an on-site 24/7 paranormal investigator that lived there. That maybe she didn't have the abilities to help with that, but you already have somebody there who could witness those things happening, and maybe,
but is a pet psychic
right
different? It's different tuning.
Yeah, I was just thinking that she might be able to like call a friend who does that, or a referral source for somebody to come in and help, other than just not having anybody. For Lisa to be able to say,
right,
hey, let's just do this, because her activity. She's picking up all kinds of things on her EKG. You know. Not EKG.
Yeah, no, okay. I'm like,
What was the
paranormal show?
I was trying to reference Ghostbusters. What was the thing in the Ghostbusters?
I've seen you actually have one in your hand when
I
we
know.
went to the Jenny Wade house. No, well, everybody,
terrible.
we're going to pause until Nash.
Oh my jeez.
You know, the EKG would be if you were at the doctor's office.
Yeah, I got that completely wrong.
Getting your heart checked.
Yeah. Okay.
What were you thinking? EVP?
EVP. That's what I was. Not EKG. EVP. Oh yeah.
Only the best on this show.
Yeah. Only quality here at Paranormal Punchers.
No, this next thing, I don't know how much I believe it because I only saw it in one place, and so you guys can just tell me what you think. Okay. 2 girls in white dresses are often seen on the stairs, and I was like, so obviously somebody's seen the movie and they saw something or.
Well, but there was Mark. You have got some stuff. On
Yeah,
the
I know you said there was stuff you found around the stairs. Some people think that the stairs is a hot spot. They call it a vortex almost. Mm-hmm. Like this is sucking in spirits for some reason. This one particular area of the hotel.
Yeah, I mean there in 2016. I didn't get his name, so I'm going to just say some dude. Wanted to take a picture of the staircase because he just thought it looked beautiful and was waiting for it to clear out so nobody was coming down, and he took a picture. As he took that picture, in the picture, there's a ghost that showed up in the picture. Just wanted a clear image. It's just like the staircase. And the image is actually, you can actually pull it up online as I did in my deep research. But there's a ghost, clearly as day, sitting right there. And so that maybe it is a hot spot there.
Yeah, I mean, some of the employees claim to have seen apparitions and experienced strange things at this staircase. It connects like the lobby up to the second floor.
As staircases do.
Yeah. Well, it could have been a staircase from the 3rd to the 4th. I just want to make sure this is the lobby to the second floor.
Okay.
There's a boatload of staircases.
Yeah, there
in
actually
this hotel.
are. There actually
Right.
are. Yes.
Go ahead.
Just more on the girls, though.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. That was only in the movie, was showing the 2 girls. The
twins.
twins. That was not in the novel.
No. Oh, no, you're right.
And
yes.
There's actually a controversy that Stanley Kubrick stole that imagery from a famous photographer who had created a photograph called, I think it was the twins or the sisters or something like that. And so it seems as though this might be reality mimicking false history.
Interesting.
And, yeah.
Now, one of the other things that I came across, there's this couch. Did you guys come across the couch?
No.
So there's this couch in the Stanley Hotel. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's a lot of couches. But one of the employees, his name is Paul, didn't give his last name. He was an employee there, and for some reason, while he was there working, he brought his couch to the Stanley Hotel.
Oh, okay.
He brought his own couch.
His own couch. This is Paul's couch from his house, whatever. And it showed a
You
picture.
got to really like your couch to bring it to work with you.
Right?
I used to have a couch that I liked. It was perfect for me. Brought his couch, and then I think he left. He left the couch there. He didn't take it home. He left as employees do at the end of the season. He went back home and died.
Oh.
Okay.
Geez.
But he never took the couch. So his ghost is now there. They never gave the couch back to the family. The family didn't want the couch. They're like, yo, it's a couch.
Right.
And it's a used
Sorry,
couch
it's your problem now.
from our deceased family member. No, it's yours. And so I guess this guy, Paul, the only place Paul is seen is sitting on his couch.
Aww,
Yeah, as
that's
one
sad.
of the most chill ghosts around. You can just go sit with Paul on his couch. It's a nice couch.
Yeah, my understanding, I could be wrong, but that yes, there is a separate building that's staff quarters, and so at the start of the season, they would hire the people who were going to work throughout the season. They would furnish their own rooms as so that's why he would bring his couch with him. It's not like he's.
Oh man, you just kind of ruined the mystery of why would he bring his couch to work? There's no such thing as a bring your couch to work day.
Right.
So
I'm wondering then is like his couch is probably still in the staff quarters.
It's still there.
So why like it's probably not heavily seen. It's not like visitors are walking through and seeing Paul.
Staff must see.
Yeah.
This ghost.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was really, really odd that like even if you had to furnish the place, well, I guess you would bring your own bed and everything.
Probably. I mean,
I don't know. Bringing a couch is like not. I don't know.
That sounds like I wouldn't take that job. Yeah, you have a room, but you got to supply all your furnishings.
Right.
It's like a dorm room in college.
Oh, there should be a bed, a
But
couch. I just bring a
bed in
TV
a dorm room. Yeah,
and a microwave.
mini fridge, microwave.
Mini fridge.
Maybe not even TV these days. You have an iPad, you have a computer. Huh? But there's a couch there. Paul's couch is still there, and
I like it way better when you were telling the story in my head. He just dragged this couch into the main lobby, and it probably had like cat pee stains on it,
right?
And he just left it.
It's a brown leather couch. It's actually in really good condition. The picture showed it in good, and it was like that actually looks like a pretty comfy couch. I don't know about being brown leather because you kind of stick to it, But aside from that, it's
Leave giant butt marks.
giant butt marks. Only if you're me.
Right.
Only if you're me.
So I only have a couple more things, but a torso. So just a torso.
A torso.
Yeah, makes an appearance in the billiard room.
Just a torso.
Just a torso.
Like laying there, floating around.
I don't know. They didn't give me more details as far as what this torso is doing.
Okay.
But
Just a torso.
Just a torso. Yeah.
Hopefully it has like a button up on it, or it has a shirt on it, or something.
I don't know. No, that'd be weird if it was.
Right. Think about that. What do you see? Is it like in a staff uniform, or is it just a shirtless torso?
Yeah, they didn't give any specifics as far as the torso.
The details of the torso.
No.
Right? Is it naked?
Green orbs can be seen in photographs, I guess. And then there is a network of caves underneath the hotel.
All right. So there's conflicting reports on this. I've seen this thing about these conflicting or these network of caves that the hotel's built upon, and there's a haunting in there. The one tunnel you can walk through, and you'll get the smell of pastries and fresh baked bread and things like that. And they think that there's a pastry chef who haunts that particular cave. But the only thing I could find is that there isn't actually a series of caves or anything. It's not like it's built on that. It's a series of staff tunnels that connect the various buildings together.
Yeah, they use that to travel.
Right.
Yeah.
And
they just said it was caves.
Correct.
Okay.
They use the word caves, but they're actually just tunnels.
Just
And these
tunnels.
tunnels were actually built in 1983. So it's well after Stephen King stayed there and everything. And they actually cut through the foundation and built these underground to connect the various things because they didn't want the staff walking amongst the guests to get from building to building.
Right.
So it's like sort of like Disney, underground, tunnels and underground city type of thing.
Yeah.
But
Just with apparitions that want to kiss you and touch you inappropriately and
feed you.
I was going to say, yeah.
Or not feed you, but just make you hungry.
and mice walking around and ducks and things. Yeah. Who want to do the same thing.
And the chef was one they mentioned, but there's some claim to see like a spirit of a gray cat just walking around the tunnels.
Interesting.
Probably
I didn't
one
see
of
that
the Pet Cemetery cats.
I see now. I hear no, but The Shining was already written.
Right.
Yes.
Well before those tunnels were made.
Right.
So
That's what Dave just told us.
Yeah, I was just thinking that was because when I read about the tunnels, I didn't catch the date.
Right.
So I was like, is that the reason why they put in the movie The Shining, the chef was involved? The head chef was part of it because that kind of links those two. But that's wrong timing.
Right. Yep.
I'm clearly wrong.
But anyway.
All right. Well, I guess that's a great spot to take a break, and we'll come back with final thoughts on that, get into The Shining, and who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
We'll be right back. And we're back. All right. The Stanley Hotel. It's definitely on my list of places I'd like to visit one day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly not driving.
No.
From Pennsylvania out there is going to be too much of a drive, even though
Oh, yeah.
talking with Jay, he's the one of the beer tenders at Moo. He drives it every year, basically.
Yep.
And whew, I couldn't do it.
Right.
No.
What do you
It's
say?
like 2 16-hour days.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
No, it's
too much.
not.
That's what, yes, it's what he said. You calling him a liar?
I've done the drive.
From Pennsylvania?
I drove from Arizona to PA. That's not 2 16-hour drives, unless he's going some crazy route.
I don't know what to tell you. That's what he said.
Well, and that includes food breaks and pee breaks.
That
and-
could be it, too. I really pushed.
Oh, now you believe him.
Yeah, because I think he usually has
he's
other people in the
lollygagging.
car, right?
Yeah,
It's
and
like-
dogs.
Yeah,
and-
yeah. Oh, dogs. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're definitely going to have to stop
Yeah.
multiple times.
He's lollygagging. He's not pushing.
All right, how fast could you do it?
Well, it took me 24 hours to drive from Arizona to here. Arizona to PA. 24 hours.
Did you do it straight?
I did it in 2 days.
So 12-hour days.
Well, I only had slept. I didn't sleep very long. I only slept for about 3-4 hours.
Okay.
So,
Sounds awful. I'm going to fly.
So you driving at high rates of speed with little sleep.
no, regular race, well, slightly, a little bit higher. Yes, little sleep. And 2 cats in the back of the car.
All right.
All right. Anything else on the Stanley Hotel?
I think it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've been there and seen it, and Estes Park is amazing. I think everybody should go there, go through the Rocky Mountain National Park, do that drive from Boulder to Estes Park. I'm not a religious person, but it's God's country. It's an amazingly beautiful place.
I want to go.
Yeah. The Stanley Hotel also has like multiple tours that you can take, like a history tour, but also they have a haunted tour. They also definitely have embraced The Shining, and so they do Shining tours and things like that. So,
Speaking of The Shining.
Can I give final thoughts?
Wow!
Speaking of The Shining. Yes, of course.
Yeah. So one of the things that, certainly I want to get out there and see this place. But like you said, the labor of love from Stanley himself, the fact that he was losing money on it. So who he sold it to was actually a conglomerate that they were supposed to operate it at a profit, but he
Right.
could still do his thing. And they're the ones who put it into foreclosure. So he bought it back, and then he eventually sold it again to another conglomerate, and it was on the downhill. Like it was going to be run down and foreclosed on again. And that's when Stephen King happened to get there.
okay.
And stayed for the end of the season and everything. And then that caused the resurgence of this hotel being
awesome.
popular now. So this hotel, for all the love that goes into it, and it seems like a lot of the ghosts seem to have a positive
Right.
effect on everything. So it's all this love, even though it seems to not always do the greatest. It's like the little hotel that could, or big hotel that could. So
Yeah, most of the guests that are there because that's where they felt at home and that's where they really wanted to be.
right,
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. They really love the area
yeah.
and that couch.
All right. Now can we talk about The Shining?
It's got to be a really comfy couch.
F your couch.
All right, we're going to talk about the movie The Shining, 1980 movie. Not the miniseries that came out in like the late 90s.
97.
But I'll mention
97,
it.
okay.
This movie, The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick, starring Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. I'm sure everybody listening has seen this movie, but I'll still give you a quick synopsis. A family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter where a sinister presence influences the father into violence, while his psychic son sees horrific foreboding from both past and future. And a whole bunch of other stuff goes down. Not filmed at the Stanley Hotel.
No.
Right.
They used for the Overlook Hotel, they used the Timberline in Washington. I think it's up in Washington for like a lot of exterior shots, and then recreated the hotel on a sound lot in the UK. And all the insides were, they collected like thousands and thousands of reference photos of American hotels. to make that look of the interior of the Overlook.
Right.
And it's, I mean, visually right out of the gate, I mean, it's got some of the coolest carpeting.
Yeah.
You know, I could see it like Norm has a pair of shorts with the shining pattern. I feel like the Silent Disco can kind of emulates that a little bit. You see the patterns from this movie everywhere. But I digress. Let's jump into the movie a little bit. Nash, I know for the first time ever, you said, "Oh, we're going to talk about my love of The Shining."
Oh yeah,
and you usually hate every movie.
Yeah,
but this time,
I have nothing but love for this movie. This is a fantastic movie. They're rewatching it now as an adult. You know, there was very few things that I was like, "Oh, hey, well, that was okay. Well, that's true of 1980. It's a little different now." You know, like on the trip out. You know, on the trip out, there was a child who was not buckled in. Right. Leaning from the back in the front seat was like, oh my God.
It was a different time period.
That was the 80s.
That's the 80s.
Yeah, I was like, well, okay, all right.
Yeah, let's talk about that quick, because I feel like that opening sequence really kind of, it sets the tone, because they're driving up and everything seems beautiful. And you would expect it's going to be a great trip, great job for Jack. But the music they have underneath that they play during time is so ominous that there's no way that something bad's gonna not happen.
Right.
Like the music lets you know, it's gonna be bad.
Well, even how just the movie opens, it's the cold open of cold opens. You know, it just starts. You know, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and then that music hits, and it's the oh shit music, and you're just like, it's such a contrast to what you see. I was just like, ooh, I'm so excited.
Even going up there, I feel like you see all the woods, the way, like, as far as the car has to travel to get up there, before we even are told about when there's nothing up there, when it closes down for the winter, the only way to get around is with this snowcat. Just the music and the aerial shots, you know, you instantly feel that dread and isolation. You know that, wow, if you're stuck out here, there's no help coming for a bit.
Yeah, and the way I took the opening, when they started playing that music, and it was like, okay, so the music was very, it's dark. You know something bad's going to happen. But visually, what you're seeing is nothing but beauty. So I took I'm thinking, okay, well, these are these 2 points. This movie is going to slowly put these 2 points together. It has to match these things up. And it was just, and I was starting to pay this time more attention to the music along with the movie, and just how the scoring of it. I totally loved it.
But we do learn that Jack's taking a job up here. It's closed down for the winter, so they'll be stuck there for what, like 3 months?
5.
And he's 5 months, and he's the caretaker.
Jeez, 5 months.
And I'm assuming he must know a lot about how to take care of a boiler, how to take care of, you know, it'd be a lot to take care of an entire hotel with just you, your wife, and your little kid.
Right.
Who has a imaginary friend, so we think.
Right.
Imaginary friend called Tony that he talks to. In the movie, which is interesting, the kid uses his little finger when he's being like Tony. That wasn't in the script. The little kid just did that in auditions, and they like, wow, we love that. Write that in.
Yeah, I think it was fantastic. And how they had, so only him talking through the finger, that was the kid, but Tony was still in the script, correct? They didn't.
Yeah. Tony was also. We can get to the differences between the book and this one. Tony. He was talking to Tony. I don't want to go into what it was supposed to be, but I got the sense that it was he could see and talk to dead people, but his parents just think, oh, his imaginary friend, he'll grow out of that one day. But no, that's not what it is.
Right.
What do you guys think about the like the chapter breaks almost? Where you would see that first one happens is the opening happens and you're going through it, and then it's black screen, the interview.
Right.
What do you guys think about that? Using that as a way to go to another chapter.
Yeah, I mean it's very effective. It basically shuts down the whatever dread you were experiencing at the end of the chapter, you know it's like, okay, we're starting fresh, and a whole new set of things is probably going to come up.
Right.
Yeah, I did notice throughout that then it got to a spot where they leveraged one of those as a jump scare. You know, they built the music up, made it really, really stressful, and then it went black screen Tuesday. You know, and that was, it really came on because it was, I felt that every one of, I felt them as the chapters, you could kind of tell that they were kind of coming to the end of a thought, and then the chapter thing would happen, and then the new thought.
Right.
And then that one that changed from, it wasn't Monday. The first one wasn't Monday. It was like a month later or something like that. Then it got really, really tense, and it instantly changed to Tuesday for some reason.
Right.
And it was just like, it was startling when it happened. And I thought, oh, this is fantastic. They're leveraging every single piece of this movie.
Yeah. So Jack Nicholson's character, Jack Torrance, he's also planning like why he's got this job and out here in this hotel, he's gonna take this time to write his novel.
Yep.
Which doesn't really work out too well for him.
Right.
But we also get through some of the dialogue that Jack has been abusive in the past.
Right. Not the best father.
I feel like we need letting us know that he's going to be susceptible to the influence of whatever evil is in the hotel. Which we get a title drop with what, first 15 minutes when Holleran, played by Scatman Crothers, is showing them around the hotel, showing where the kitchen is, where all the food is. He just while he's talking to Jack, kind of looks at Danny and does a little.
You'd like
Professor
some
X thing where he mentally talks to him, but he lets Danny know. He calls it The Shining.
Right.
You have The Shining,
Right.
And I think as you watch the movie, the fact that Danny is having visions, but so is Jack, that that talent was passed down from Jack. I don't think Jack fully understands what's going on, but he's seeing stuff where Shelley Duvall sees nothing.
Right.
Not at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Jack has a talent, but
Yeah.
Right.
And then that's how it passed down. Yeah. Yeah. And then I put in here another one of those things that popped out is like when they were opening again with like the seeding of the of what's going to happen down the road is talking about the Donner Party.
Right.
They were driving up when the kid was not in his seatbelt sitting down in the back.
Right.
They're talking about, oh, well, what's the Donner Pottery?
What is the Donner Pottery?
Yeah, what is Donner Pottery?
Come on down to Donner Pottery. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
BYO food. Bring your own sandwiches. The Donner Party. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll just tell my 5-year-old son what happened with the Donner Party. And he's like, oh, yeah, they had to eat themselves. Sure. That's fine. And then another example of great parenting was when they get to the hotel, they kind of lose the son for a little while.
Yeah.
Did you notice that Jack and Shelley Duvall kind of go off and they're doing their interview being shown in the hotel? And I thought, where the heck is their kid? He's off running around a hotel with, I don't know, 500 employees.
They did say he had found the game room, but no one was monitoring him. And then he was he disappeared for a while.
He disappeared.
Then it was like, oh, there you are.
It's the 80s, man.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to get home from school and go out with my friends in the woods and play around.
Oh, yeah.
My mom would have no clue really where I was, but she just knew that dinner time I'd back at home.
I mean, that one scene at the beginning really sets the tone, I think, with the 80s parenting and everything of he's just passed out and a doctor comes to the house.
Oh, yeah. Which
is, but then, the doctor and Shelley Duvall just sit down. She smokes a cigarette while talking to the doctor.
Right.
And, it's okay. Jack just physically abused him, but it was an accident. And it's like she's giving out details of definite child abuse. And
the doctor did he laugh or something or I can't remember now, but
it was a she. And,
was it a girl?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she kind of laughed it off a little bit.
Yeah.
And they talked more about the episode that the little kid had. I was a little disturbed that the child had an episode and they called the doctor because of his episode. When the doctor arrived, the kid didn't have any pants on. The mom was smoking in the corner, and the kid didn't have any pants on. And they're talking about the dad abusing the child. And I'm thinking, whoa, 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 whoa. What is going on in this household? This is nuts. That kid needs to put on some pants. I don't know. I get it. You're a doctor, but still, you're not there to check out that area. Let's put on some pants, little guy.
All right. But speaking of Danny, Torrance, there's some moments in the movie that are absolutely incredible cinematography-wise and sound design. When Danny's riding his big wheel.
Awesome.
I had a big wheel back in the day. How about you guys?
I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
When he's riding us through the hotel, number one, we got amazing set design. But you got this sound design where as he's going from hardwood flooring to that carpet.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It gives I don't know if I want to call it unsettling, but it's kind of sets a tone.
Right.
As he's doing this. And the way they have the camera at a low angle.
Right.
And it's just fluid. And it's following him and after all these turns.
Fluid,
and
it's following. I think they used a Steadicam rig, but they flipped it upside down so the camera could be down lower so a guy could run behind Danny through these halls, but you still have a steady shot.
Right.
And then you use an ultra-wide angle to make everything just seem a little bit bigger almost. Like really, like the hotel is like massive. But then this is where we get to see Danny has visions and some of the coolest cinematic moments that probably everybody has seen at one time, even if they didn't see The Shining.
Right.
Elevator opening up and blood
Right.
pouring out. And of course, two twins.
Right.
Which is creepy.
Right.
Very creepy.
And he would see the twins and then have flashes of them being butchered.
Yeah. Because I guess that goes at the previous caretaker.
Right. Grady.
Murdered. And it's kind of what the hotel's trying to get Jack to do.
Right.
But even that elevator scene with the blood, iconic. That clip shows up. And anytime you watch a thing about horror movies, that clip shows up. It took him a year to get that and get it right.
Right.
Wow. Holy moly. And so now he's starting to see things more frequently. Danny is starting to see things more frequently. The Jack is kind of getting on edge while he's doing his writing. Shelley Duvall brings him a sandwich, I think, and he lights her up for just delivering a sandwich. I put that in there. A very different time. He's writing, and he absolutely chews out his wife for interrupting him. And I was like, man, if I did that with my wife, she'd go get a hammer.
Bash your
She'd go get a hammer and come back. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. Wow. Holy moly, he lets into her. Jeez Louise.
When you hear this sound.
Yeah.
He's, he is getting crazier.
Yeah.
I know that was one issue that Stephen King had with this. He had a lot of issues, but where Jack Nicholson kind of comes in, you already can see that he's got some issues.
Right.
Could be a little insane. But I mean, it really, the performance is outstanding. When he's going nutty, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And the music follows the tension levels. The music is slowly, raising the tension levels on it. And I thought that's where I was starting to really pay attention to the music, is that it was that was really driving the tension. I was trying to ignore the music and watch the movie. And even then you could still see Jack start to descend into madness and whatnot.
Right.
But the music really drove it, because it was just so prominent in the whole movie, is just how much music was in this and the scoring.
That, but even again, I think the hotel adds to why it was scary. There's a scene where he's struggling to write and just throwing a tennis ball against the wall. But again, the way the cinematography is, it just gives this huge expanse. Imagine being stuck that long in a giant hotel. I feel like people have that. Even if it's not haunted, people have issues where they go stir crazy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But now you got the hotel. He can't write. He's got a mental block for some reason. And he's got the whatever evil the hotel is starting to They already this is our guy. We could definitely give him the push he needs to join our ranks.
Yep. One of the themes that Stephen King was going with for the book was his alcoholism and trying to get over it. And I think that the movie does a really good job of showing that huge open space. You're by yourself. You're down in a hole. You can't get through to what you're trying to do, and just showing over time how you're stuck, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and
how it weighs on you.
Yes.
And you just need to do something to escape and relief.
Right.
Have some relief.
Yeah.
And but the hotel gives that to him.
Right.
All of a sudden, he goes into one room and it's a full open bar.
Yeah.
Right.
With a bartender, and like, was it all in his mind? Was the hotel really conjuring up what he needed to keep driving him crazier and crazier? Was it bourbon?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, when the wife showed up, he was drinking his Jack Daniels, I think it was, and she showed up, and he turned to talk to her, and there was nothing there.
Right.
And he didn't have it in his hand anymore.
Right.
It was all back to normal. So it was really feeding into him, and that was was the way in.
Yep.
And then it starts to go down.
Yeah.
So after that, he starts going back and talking with the bartender, Lloyd, I think of the
Lloyd,
name.
yeah.
Lloyd.
That's an awesome scene when he sits down at the empty bar, slaps his hand over his face, and then kind of just moves a couple fingers aside, and he's like, Lloyd?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, the acting was great, but just even the reveal, the full bar and Lloyd, like,
Right.
yeah, there's a reason that this is
Right.
just incredible to watch.
Right.
And was that was the time that I think that was pretty close to the time when Danny the son, he'd already been seeing the visions. He had an incident in 237.
212, wasn't it?
Well, no, the room that
Room 237
was 237.
Oh.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, and I guess got into room 237 and came back, and he was all bruised. His shirt was torn and whatnot.
Right.
Shelley Duvall's character, blamed the husband. The husband that wasn't me, whatever. But that was the time when he went into that bar area, and Lloyd showed up to pour him a drink. That was about the time that Danny was having he's reaching out to Scatman.
Yeah. He does some type of psychic blast all the way, because O'Halloran was all the way in Florida.
Right.
Chilling, watching, I forget what kind of movie he was watching, but there's naked people in it.
Right.
He was all having a good time, and he got that mental blast, and right away he's like, I gotta get back up.
Right.
Yeah, to the timberline.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, to the overlook.
Right.
To the overlook. Yeah, and that from then on, it's like he used all of his power to get to him, because after that, Danny wasn't there anymore. It was Tony after that.
Right.
So
Right.
so it made the Tony stepped in and took it from there.
Right.
Yeah. And when O'Halloran showed up, I thought, definitely my first viewing, but every time I still see the scene, I'm like, man, that sucks.
Right.
He's a good dude.
He's a good dude. I thought he was going to be able to help Danny, maybe use some shining power to do something. But no, he basically walks in the hotel and is like, hey, Danny. And then Jack, this is when Jack has an axe, is going ape shit.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm like, damn, I thought O'Halloran was going to be able to
Right.
do some shining.
Yeah. No. No, and that's when right after that.
Spoilers, but if you haven't seen The Shining by now.
Right.
Yeah. He's 40 years old, 40 plus years old. Right. But that's when he's got his axe, is when you see him trying to get to Shelley Duvall in the bathroom.
Right.
You get that scene. It really
Again, that's an awesome scene.
Right.
Him chopping at the door, because at this point he's going to murder her.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole "Here's Johnny" was improvised.
Right.
They did like 60-some takes. 60 doors were destroyed. Because the first door they built, he went through it like paper.
Right.
Because it was like a prop door. But
Yeah.
apparently, Jack Nicholson was also at the time, or at one time in his life, a volunteer firefighter.
Yeah.
So he knew how to...
He knew how to do it.
swing an axe.
Right. Yeah.
So after the first door was too easy, they beefed up the doors, but they still did 60 doors before they got that
Jeez.
one take that
Right.
was used. And again, talk about iconic.
Right.
Even if you've never seen The Shining, you've seen that scene.
You've seen it.
in any
Right.
horror.
And that still shot of his face.
yeah.
And-
Yeah, you've seen that still in memes. You've seen it everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I was just going to say with the doors, though, that's the one thing on this rewatch I hadn't picked up before, and I didn't realize that they went through so many doors. It seemed like, well, this just looks like a paneled door. An axe should cut right through that with no...
Right.
and he's like the first cut, it's just a little.
It had to be like they had to put like a solid oak door in there.
It's
or
like,
something.
what is going on? Is he just really weak, or what's going on here? Because he should have just like shattered it with an axe like that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad they beefed up the door because it gave that tension. Like she's in the bathroom, screaming.
Right.
He's chopping through. It needed to take a little time to get in there for that awesome moment when he creates enough space for his face.
Right.
And he's like, "Here's Johnny."
Yep.
Well, and one of the things I noticed too is there's in almost every shot, not every shot, but a lot of the shots, they go really wide and expansive to show how big the hotel is, and Danny riding through, and pretty much every room shot is this really wide shot. Those shots of him axing the door, they really tightened up the shot to just him, and then move the camera really fast as if it's following the axe.
Right.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I loved how they did that.
Right.
You almost kind of could feel
Right.
the concussion of the axe on the door, just the way they filmed that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I love that.
And it was a slow back and then a fast forward and a slow back, and it just followed that axe, the driving of the axe every time, and it was like, dude, that was I masterful on the camera work right there.
Yeah. Going back to your point of Holleran, I think he pulled Jack away, so he didn't do anything directly. But if he hadn't showed up, it would have been the end.
Yeah. He actually brought the snowcat.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all right. Still, in a way, he did help out Shelley Duvall and Dan.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But still, he didn't get to do anything.
Right.
Jack just came out of nowhere, right in the gut, and took him down.
Yep.
And then so after that iconic scene is when you get the hedge maze scene.
Yes. Oh, before that, though, when we're introduced to the hedge maze, I just want to bring this up. There's a shot where they have this miniature of the hedge maze. And Jack's looking at it. He's starting to look a little crazy when he's looking at this miniature. But they have this push down with this camera, and you start to see Shelley Duvall and Danny running around. It's just a really cool shot. Right. But I love it, too, because they let you know, like, it's massive. This is a huge maze, which apparently they did build it to some extent on the soundstage out there in the UK. And I guess the crew challenged Kubrick because he thought it's not that big of a deal to we'll see if you can get out. And he was lost in there for a bit. Also some crew. So they really designed it. It was pretty hard to get out of.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. And I really liked it because I saw that too, where they come in and
it's a killer shot.
Yeah, and you get the scope of how complex that hedge maze is. Because from the outside, you're like, okay, it's a hedge maze. Okay, whatever. And then you see that and you're like, oh, that's as big as like 5 football fields or something. It was massive.
And then even watching the special features on the Blu-ray, the lens they used and the way they shot it inside the maze when we see Shelley Duvall and them walking around, the hedges are only like 8 feet tall. But the way the lens they used made him feel 12 feet.
I was going to say, they seemed a lot taller.
Man,
than
that's movie magic.
Nice.
Wow. And how they were following Danny, and it was like, again, same as on the big wheel. They were right there, right on like the back of his knees following him. You could see the footprints in the snow.
Yeah. The footprints in the snow. Because Danny's wicked smart.
Yeah.
So he starts where he backtracks his own steps to fool his dad.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the whole time Shelley Duvall comes out, she gets in the snowcat. She does her own thing to escape. And then it's just Dad. He's just trying to get to the son to kill him. I think that's what it was. He was trying to kill him, and then the kid just outsmarting the dad because he lost his mind. I when I was watching this with my son, the one thing that took Evan out of the movie was at the very end when they showed Jack dead.
Why?
Because it was like all this build up and it was dark, and then he's just kind of sitting there frozen, and he was like, my son was like, oh, who made that wax dummy? It was just like, oh, that's fake. What is that? I was like, well,
he's wrong.
He was like, Jack Nicholson isn't going to stay there. And I'm like, well, he could have. It could be him. They just painted his face white, and he's just sitting there. He just needed like a 2-second shot.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, and the snow was salt and styrofoam.
Oh. Interesting.
It was really fluffy. Yeah. It was really, really nice.
Right.
But yeah, no, he dies there, and I love, again, that before we go to credits, like, we're closing in on this picture hanging on the wall. 20s ballroom music's playing, and Jack's part of it. It was like New Year's Eve 1920 or something?
July 4th.
July 4th.
Yep.
And he's now part of the party that was going on there. He's now a member.
Well,
So the theory is that the hotel was trying to reclaim him, that he was actually the caretaker back in the 20s.
Okay.
And
that's what Grady had said.
right. And that Grady knew of Jack as being the previous caretaker.
Like he was reincarnated in another body?
Yes. And that's why he knew Lloyd right away. Like, because Lloyd is never mentioned.
I love that. I
right.
never thought about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big reasons why Stephen King didn't like the movie adaptation, is because that's not part of the book. The hotel is not trying to reclaim Jack Torrance in the book. Jack is actually a good guy who just gets overwhelmed with bad forces in the book. In the movie, Jack was a bad guy who was actually the reincarnate of this guy from before.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Well, in 1983, in a Playboy article, Stephen King said, I'd admired Kubrick for a long time and had great expectations for this project, but I was deeply disappointed in the end result. Parts of the film are chilling, charged with relentless claustrophobic terror, but others fell flat.
Well, I got to tell you, maybe he feels that way because he wrote the book and it wasn't what he envisioned for it. But I got to tell
That's
you,
right. That's why 1997 made a 4-hour miniseries.
Yeah.
Right.
Which actually was shot at the Stanley Hotel.
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
But now going back 40 some odd years later and watching this thing, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
I mean, I think it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it really
I think
is.
you can continue to watch this, and I feel that you could watch this and learn about filmmaking, set design,
everything,
acting.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. Fun tidbit, because we were talking about room 217. The reason it was 237 is that the actual hotel they were using for the exterior, the Timberline, they actually have a 217, and they were worried that people wouldn't want to book it, and it could hurt their sales, so they changed it to 237. It's that simple.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, like I said, I agree. I think this is a total masterpiece. There was my only things that I was like, hey, what is that? Had to do with this was shot in 1980, and that's how things were in 1980 and not now.
Yeah.
But that's it. I mean, that's, with the kid not in the back seat.
The kid doesn't have a seatbelt.
He doesn't have a seatbelt. I've been on that road. It's not terrible, but still, your kid needs to sit down. You're in a Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, or in a Bug.
And there's a lot with the book that they couldn't do with the technology of the time. That's why the hedge maze came in. It's not in the book.
Yeah. In the book is hedge sculptures. Yeah, they're like shaped like animals, and they come to life at a point and kind of like they're going to attack. And I think I also read that Stanley Kubrick was like, not feasible to do.
Right.
The hedge mage is a far cooler idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, it's little things like that Kubrick did what he could do. I think he did change some of it that maybe should have gotten Stephen King's blessing to change, but it still came out to a
King
really
wrote,
good movie.
A draft of the movie, which Stanley Kubrick ignored, and got another book author he liked to help him write it.
Right. Yep.
So he was hell bent on doing it his way.
Right.
Doing justice to the book.
Yeah. The 4-hour miniseries that Stephen King thinks is good.
Right.
And a great adaptation. It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
You shouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
And in that is where we find out Tony is actually Danny, but from the future, somehow using The Shining to communicate with his younger self to warn him about what's going to happen.
In the miniseries, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if that's how it is in the book, but...
Probably, since Stephen King thinks this is the best.
Right.
Wow. Holy moly. And I guess, I don't know if anybody's seen Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that.
This is a sequel.
This is a sequel, and I haven't seen Dr. Sleep. So was there any tie back? Was digging
Yeah, he goes
in?
back to the Overlook, if I remember.
Yeah, so I watched Dr. Sleep before I'd seen the entire movie. I've only seen bits and pieces of
The Shining.
The Shining. So I didn't quite understand, but I liked it, what I saw.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor. Ewan. Yeah, no, I think Dr. Sleep's a pretty decent movie. Directed by Mike Flanagan. And other movies that kind of tie in with The Shining, there's a documentary called Room 237. This is all about conspiracy theories. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard any of this, but
no.
So some of the conspiracy theories that the documentary talks about, but also because people were talking about it, is the moon landing. So some people believe that within the movie, Stanley Kubrick has hidden clues that he helped fake the moon landing. Like Danny's Apollo 11 sweater.
Oh, I saw
which
that.
is a great sweater. I actually would wear
that.
that for sure.
Right.
Danny's sweaters during the whole movie were fantastic.
And some people cite there's Tang in the Overlook's pantry because, again, at the time, people were like, Tang, it's like the astronaut drink.
It was 1980.
True. But hey, people are okay. And others, since it's 237, some people are saying it's a reference to the estimated 237,000 miles between Earth and the moon.
Okay. Sure.
And then the article I found that said that's inaccurate, but people will make up whatever. So that's one of the biggest conspiracy theories surrounding The Shining. Another one, which you might like, is CIA experimentation. That the movie Stanley Kubrick's way of saying something about that because
was Jack being experimented on?
Like MK Ultra, or
well, yeah, because they were hallucinating.
Yeah.
So there was always that thing about the CIA giving the MK Ultra,
right?
But there's also a poster in one of the rooms. I don't know if it was the game room, but there's a poster of a skier. Now Jack is told that there's this area skiing's not a thing,
right?
So people are like, oh, well, why would he put a poster of a skier there? And on the poster at the bottom it says Monarch, which people think is a CIA. It's code name for a CIA project.
Okay.
So this movie, not only being amazing, somehow people reading in it like Stanley Kubrick has hidden messages in it.
Okay.
So are you saying
And there's more, but that's the two that I thought, well, that's interesting.
So are you saying that the CIA was responsible for Godzilla and Mothra fighting?
Not
Yes.
that Monarch.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I was like, that's that. Wow. I didn't know. This is a big stretch from one to the other, covering a lot of time.
But The Shining is fantastic. I'm sure you've seen the movie by now. Go ahead and rewatch it. Rewatch it at Halloween. Rewatch it in the middle of summer. It's just it's a great movie. My kid, he's 21. This was his first watch, and he really liked it.
Yeah, he liked it. So.
And I don't know if it was the first time my mom saw it. This is the movie that I showed for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So, hey, I chefed up jambalaya, and we watched The Shining. I feel like that's a solid Mother's Day, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
And everybody loved the movie.
Yeah.
So I would say I really have, if I'm on the scale 1 through 10, it's hard not to want to give it a 10, but maybe I'll go like 9. Just because, no, you know what? I really love it. It's a great movie. I feel like on every rewatch, I'll learn something new personally, and maybe even take in any film project that I'm working on. Like maybe I want to do something like that. So I'm just going to go straight up 10. Lish?
I think I would probably go with a 9, but
Okay.
not because I hate it. It was just, it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
Dave?
I'd probably go 10. And the reason
Man.
why is this is how you do a real horror movie.
Right.
The jump scares aren't jump scares for the sake of them. Like, I can deal with these jump scares.
Okay.
The turning the corner and seeing the twins there, it's psychologically intense, but it's not making me jump out of my seat. It's
True.
like, this is done to the best of ability. And I just think it all comes together. I haven't read the book, and I've heard that if you read the book, you don't like it. I think that I can still appreciate this movie as it is, even if it's different than the book. I think the book can be its own good thing, and this is still a really, really good movie.
Yeah, 100% agree. If you love the book, the movie doesn't have to be a direct translation. You can enjoy The Shining for the masterpiece it is. If you want the book, go watch the miniseries.
Yeah. And going back to your comment about Mother's Day, I mean, if one of the central themes isn't about the mother's love for her son, I don't know what else.
Love
Yeah.
Right.
Nash.
You guys probably guessed I gave this a solid 2. I love it. It's a 10.
But considering you give everything else a 1, that's
Right. It was twice as good as everything else.
I was concerned when you gave Viking Wolf a 7.5. I was like, what's he going to give The Shining?
Yeah. So I agree with you, Dave. They really one of the main jump scares that I got was the chapter turn on that Tuesday. I actually literally was like, whoa, and it actually got me. And I thought, I'm getting a jump scare from a black screen with the word Tuesday on it. This is nuts. And I'm like, this movie has got me. The music's got me just wrapped up in it. I think how they did the cinematography, like I said, I agree. I think this is a masterclass. I really think Stanley Kubrick should do this for a living.
Yeah, we all agree this time. That's awesome.
As horror movies goes, I'm not a horror movie guy,
right.
But this was perfect.
Yeah.
You want Stanley Kubrick to do more of this?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
If he could do a little bit more, just at any time, if there's anything else I can look at, I don't know. I don't know what he's done.
We should do an episode trying to figure out where does Stanley Kubrick haunt so we can go get him to
make another movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. And there's a lot of Stephen King horror movies that we could talk about. Right. But why don't we move on? We'll wrap up this episode with I got a couple listener feedback things here to read.
Real quick, can I jump in? So I
was just transitioning to the end of the episode.
Right, but I wasn't done because I actually watched a second movie about the Stanley Hotel.
What?
Just of my own accord. And that would be Dumb and Dumber.
Nice.
Which is filmed exclusively at the Stanley Hotel when they're in Colorado. And, I mean, honestly, you can't get much better than that. If you're going to use the Stanley Hotel for something, showing off all of its wonder and splendor, Dumb and Dumber really does.
Are you thinking the double feature between the two?
Yes. Yeah.
Which would you do first and second?
I think you have to start with Dumb and Dumber. And then go to The Shining.
And then finish The Shining.
Okay.
Yeah. But there is the cut of Dumb and Dumber as the horror movie.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, that may change things up.
Speaking of Dumb and Dumber, can I move on now?
Sure.
I like where your head's at, Dave. Dirty thing. Everybody, that silence was a dirty look from Mark.
This is from Kevin J. So far, I've been digging the new format. I enjoy the paranormal legend paired with a semi-related movie. It feels natural and works well, even with Nash's terrible take on movies. What? This was a really fun episode, guys. He dropped that as a comment on the last one we did, The Trolls.
Oh, nice.
And we heard from Peter DeRosa. He dropped us a comment on YouTube on the same episode about Norway and the Trolls. Always wanted to visit Norway, and I thought the movie was okay. Could have been worse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
He left us a little story. Back when I was in high school, we visited Dudleytown in Connecticut. It's fenced off and patrolled by the PD, so it was hard to get in and far from where we live. Let's just say we definitely trespassed. The stories from everyone are different. Some people say there's nothing but the cool dread you feel when you know someone is watching you. It is a feeling we all felt upon entering the forest. It was almost as silent as a grave. No insects or animal sounds at all. After a while, you come across the heavily overgrown foundations from ages ago. Nothing more than moss-covered rocks now. We heard stories of cultists going in there and getting up to no good and thought it was all BS. Until we found the stuff hanging from trees. They looked like idols, Blair Witch style. Maybe it was kids, but it looked creepy and something about it felt wrong. We didn't stay long after that and got out of there before we were caught. This is 20 years ago now, so I don't know what it could be like these days, but I never had any intention of going back. Maybe it's a curse or just an overactive teenage mind, but it felt evil. Keep up the great work, Pete Punchers. Love you all. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. You want to send us feedback? So you'll find all the ways on paranormalpunchers.com. We're everywhere. You can contact us however you want to.
Facebook, whatever.
All right, that's it. Not going to ask for final thoughts. I'm going to get something else about Dumb and Dumber.
Lloyd?
Get signed a contract right here.
Right.
All right, that's it. We're out. If it's not weird,
It's not worth checking out.